What's up? This is BreakmanX, and welcome to the game show on January 29th, 2025. How's it going, Jacko of Bertanos?
What's up, Break? It is great. Chiefs are Super Bowl bound. I've got a new lighting set up this week. Things are going great.
It's looking nice. The Brady Bunch has upgraded this week. That's a very good start. It's a good start.
It's a good baseline. It's a good baseline.
Yeah, it's very nice. Yeah, it's nice to have those just stop right in the beginning type thing. And Logan, how are you doing?
Doing fantastic. I'm ready to talk about more games. I'm excited to continue the episode from last week.
Awesome. Me too. Yeah, are we talking about games? And Darria, I will never forget you again. How are you doing today?
I'm doing quite well. I have hot chocolate, and I am set to talk about games that I can actually talk about. Hot
chocolate. How dare you not bring some for me, virtually?
It's protein hot chocolate, too.
Ooh, yum. That's good for you. Build some muscle. That was what I was thinking.
I love that song.
The Uncanny Valley personified. Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
The game show is a celebration of video games and our collective interests with a healthy dose of humor while bringing on our favorite people in the game and movie industries as guests. And I can confirm kind of times for next time. So next week, February 5th, we'll have Voltar live on the show. Modder Extraordinaire. I posted some stuff in the Discord there. But has a really healthy YouTube there of about 100,000 followers too. So check him out there if you want to learn about some video game hardware. And then John Linneman lives in Germany. So we had to adjust our schedule a little bit to accommodate, which we're very, very happy to do because I'm super excited to have him on the show. So February 9th, we will see you at 9:30 in the morning, Central Time. Okay. It's going to be much earlier for Maul because he's in Vegas. He's going to... but I'm told there will be pajamas. Okay, so come for the Digital Foundry, stay for the pajamas. Okay, so yeah, welcome to the game show. We've got a lot more viewers here over the last couple weeks, so happy to see you whether you're watching live or you're watching a replay. We love interaction, so if you'd like to interact with us, you can comment on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Or even better, you can go to BreakmanX.com and join our Discord, and you can say perfect opinions all week that no one will argue with, just like our perfect opinions about to come on arcade games. So I lied. I said it was 1991 plus. It's actually 1990 plus. No one murder me. Apologize in advance. But we're going to move back into the arcade here starting 1990 to 1999. Okay, which is a really amazing time for arcades and really difficult to pick an arcade game of this time. There's so many that I played. It's hard to tell if it was the 80s or the 90s I played more arcade games, but they're definitely up there. But when I had to pick one, I had to go to the one that for me changed everything. And I remember being it's actually Shadow's Basement. We're talking about some new fighting game that came out and people trying to describe the special moves to me. Like you can shoot a fireball out of your hands and Chun-Li can kick really fast and E Honda slaps you a lot. Blanca's going to electrocute you and turn it into a ball and smash you. And it was really hard to imagine what that would look like. And I imagined it very poorly because when I saw it, it was so much better than I could ever imagine. And Street Fighter 2 was just so amazing. I love Street Fighter 2. I love the art. I love the music. I love everything about it. I love the home ports. I love everything. But going with the arcade, I'm going to have to go Street Fighter 2. I spent a lot of quarters there. And when we had to do the roller skate thing in grade school, I was not roller skating. I was Hadokening. So, yeah.
Yeah. It was very tough for me not to pick that one because Street Fighter 2 is also one of my favorites. Yeah, I always try to have this thought experiment, and I just haven't gone to Wikipedia to check it out. But I wonder if Pac-Man or Street Fighter 2 has more ports at this point because I'm pretty sure they're neck and neck now. Yeah, Darria and Logan, have you guys ever had a chance to play Street Fighter 2 or really put some time into it at all?
I have not. I have watched, I think, Matt play it. But I have not played it myself.
I've played it before, but I rarely. It hasn't been a very common occurrence at my visits to arcades.
Gotcha. I it's one of those things where Break's right. Like there were so many things that changed when Street Fighter 2 came out. I think I had been to an arcade like maybe the summer before it came out. And, there was like one of every single cabinet. Like it was just different cabinets, different games. But then when Street Fighter 2 came out, it was literally, there was an entire wall of Street Fighter 2 machines dedicated, and they were full. Like you literally had to wait 20 minutes just to get it in to play one of them. And so I can't overstate how much that game changed arcades. Like, and Maul's right. Like before Street Fighter 2 and after Street Fighter 2, arcades definitely underwent a shift. And a lot of it was thanks to Street Fighter.
Right. Speaking of Maul, we've got your back.
Indeed. Yeah.
The routing software decided that Maul just was not going to be heard today. So you know what? Screw you, routing software. I restarted it, and now he's back. So, and I'm glad he's back.
Oh, I didn't even know that was happening. So
it was so smooth.
We're all glad he's back.
It was so smooth. No, it's So everyone out there, thank you for letting me know we couldn't hear Maul. It's very, very important. And to be able to hear Maul. So apologize for that.
Well, I appreciate that. Jeez.
Yes, people noticed, so they like you, Jack.
So
I was
my gums are flapping, and nothing going on.
So Jack, I didn't know if you got to your pick or not because I was rerouting audio.
I didn't. I was actually just about to
thank
start.
You. I was like,
but that's a great
Jack
segue. So my pick for that arcade time frame between 1990 and 1999 is Smash TV. Midway hit. It's the developer of Robotron was like, hey, what if we did this really cool idea where we made another Robotron? But then they all loved The Running Man, the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And what if we made just an entire game based off that with dual joystick controls? And they blew it away. I mean, you get the little RoboCop thing with I'd buy that for $1. The MC, the bosses are huge, ridiculous. The enemies are like just kind of really varied. It's got a great little soundtrack for at least the first level. It's one of my favorite arcade machines. I will go and I will pump at least $5-6 into that thing just to make it through to the end. It's one of my favorites. It's fast. It's frenetic. I highly recommend you seek it out. If you can find an arcade version where you can actually use the dual joysticks, it's awesome. But even a home version like the Super Nintendo, Xbox 360, if you can still find it on Xbox Arcade or one of those old Midway packages, it's a phenomenal game. That's what I will go to almost every single time I see one.
Such a great choice. And I love that I'll buy that for $1 is so iconic. But good
luck. You'll need it.
Exactly. I remember playing that and like imagining what it would be like to be one of the contestants and how awful it would have been to be one of those contestants. Because of the SNES version I played the most of. The arcade version is obviously the bomb. And Maul.
Yeah.
What's your pick here?
Again, the comic nerd comes back again because just like the Genesis for the arcade in this era, it was the X-Men. The 6-player edition specifically is the one that will always stick out to me. So beat 'em up, very much inspired or following on the footsteps of the 1989 Ninja Turtles. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But now improved from 4 players to 6 simultaneous. And that's one of those things that just I couldn't believe, like when I first saw it in the arcade. The crowd of people and all of them wanting to go 6 at a time. The anime styled versions of the X-Men and the villains, and honestly, like they still like really use like the sound bites from that game. They still pop up or reference from time to time. So the voice acting, cheesy though it was, like really stood out.
Welcome to die.
Exactly. X chicken. Like amazing stuff. That was actually going back like a weird push at the time because they were going to do like a launch, like X-Men were starting to really break out and like had become like a top selling comic, and they were going to like make them the next big thing. So they made a crazy arcade game. It was great, and they did a pilot for a Saturday morning cartoon show at the time using the same character designs that then did not get picked up, and it kind of deflated the whole thing. We had to wait like another, almost 10 years before it came back around, and the Fox show, made that a big pop culture thing. But still, there was an attempt, and that game lives on. They, until recently, had one not very far from my house here in a bar, and I'd still pop in and play that every now and again.
Awesome. Yeah, Pride of the X-Men was a cool one, and someone actually ported that game to the Saturn recently. A pretty arcade perfect port of it. They haven't ported all of it. It's kind of been in progress.
Yeah, that's one of those that's like good reason to have again physical media, because it was on the PS3, and I got the license for that and was playing that, and it was great. I just played forever at home, and then my PS3 died, and bought a PS4, and it's no longer on the PlayStation Store. It's still on my list of licenses if I go look for it, but there's no place to download it from.
I need to go see if that's. I got the Xbox 360 version when that came out, so I got to go back and check and see if it's still on my list on my Xbox.
It might be. The Xbox has kept a few more of the things active on their end. Like I think Castle Crashers, for instance, is still up on there, but Sony removed it from their library. Go figure.
Yeah, digital licenses can be evil, because you're not buying the game, you're buying the option to play the game for a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's also very convenient. But speaking of convenience, well, it really has no relation to what I'm saying. But Logan, what is your pick?
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to say my favorite arcade game from the '90s is Metal Slug, and for anyone who hasn't played it, it's like a side-scrolling shooter game. And I think the thing I love about it the most is like the animation and the sound design, really, and just like the look of the game. It's very detailed artistically, and everything has really, intricate animations that feel very juicy. That's a technical game design term. And the sound is awesome. Like, you just feel the feedback for like every explosion. Like all the bolts, like the bullets just explode, and it's great. I love playing it.
I always have a litmus test, and I can tell anybody that's ever played any of the Metal Slug games is you ask them how you pronounce rocket launcher, and that's it. If they say it like that, they're a Metal Gear or a Metal Slug fan.
Probably a Metal Gear fan too. Also,
probably.
Yeah, but no, Metal Slug, awesome choice. Some of my favorite artwork of any game. So beautiful. If you haven't played the third one, I highly suggest it. They're all great, I think, but I really like probably the third one.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever actually found it in the wild. I've played it like on my arcade machine at home, although I don't play it terribly often because it actually lags the machine. But every time I play it, I really just love the experience of it.
Nick, when you come to my place, we'll have to play it on the Mister, because it plays
let's do it.
very delicious.
But I mean, but what Logan says is right. I mean, the original Neo Geo hardware that it ran on just couldn't handle it. Like 1 through 3, just there's so much slowdown in it. I mean, it's a great game. Don't get me wrong, but like you kind of need the slowdown to survive in some points.
Yeah, it's pushing things too, for sure. And do you want to catch us up on any of the chat room happenings?
Yeah, sure thing. Nick of Time says, I'm watching on the clock. Don't tell my boss.
Hey, Nick of Time.
You just told everybody.
Hey, assuming his boss isn't watching. Although,
that's me.
That's hilarious.
And then Storm Eagle says, my best arcade game is Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, and I can hear Maul again. That's great. And then from Jack, actually, I don't know how many X's that is before X-Men.
If you played X-Men, you made it to the second level, like you'll get it. It's the background music on that stage.
That is the soundtrack. It's true.
Man, I want to play that game again now.
Storm Eagle 6-player X-Men is always a great time. I'm gonna have to try that.
You should. It's a lot of
you
fun.
can find in the arcade, man. They're out there still.
They need to. Disney needs to get off that license and like let us play it. That's all I gotta say about that. Daria, do you have anything?
I was gonna say, I'm sure it'll just be a matter of time before they do an X-Men '97 re-release.
I hope so.
That'd be great.
Love that show. Darria, do you have anything to add about the arcades before we head on to the new Earth?
I do not.
Nothing.
As
Okay.
the cat hops down.
There will be no skipping of Darria ever again.
Break, I blame you for this. Like, she lived with you for a time. You not have her play all these generations of games, all the arcades. I know you have them. I've been there. I've seen it.
She played a lot of things. But that was before I really had a lot of the arcade stuff that I could play here. So it was mostly console stuff. But she was already well versed in the PlayStation era of things, so it was introducing her to other things.
Well, I'm glad we're heading on into that then.
You can blame me though. So now we're in 1991. Okay, we're in 1991. Very exciting. The New Earth, or the Neo Geo. I remember this console, and everyone. It was kind of like a mystical thing. Everyone talked about it. I never knew anyone that actually had one. I'd see the MVS out in the wild sometimes in arcades, but I never actually played the AES, the home version. But Maul was here a couple weeks ago when he was in Carbonite, and we beat Shock Troopers. And I'd kind of thought that was probably my favorite Neo Geo game, but after beating it with Maul, I have to say that's probably my favorite Neo Geo game. It's such a fun overhead shooter where you're just shooting lots of stuff and using your special move, and there's just lots of carnage. Everything's blowing up. It's very frenetic. The graphics are just absolutely beautiful. Neo Geo has such beautiful sprite work always. But Shock Troopers, there's so many games I could go with here, but I'm gonna go with Shock Troopers.
Yeah, it's a great option. The first one and the second one are both great games. I think the first one, I think you're right, is probably the better game of the two, and it's just fun. It's a fun shooter. That's about all you can say.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a good time. I got to be Rocky Balboa and shoot Wayne Static. So that was,
yes, and I don't know what her name is, but the woman that has the pink looking hair that's actually blonde, that's my favorite. She's
your
awesome.
favorite. Yeah,
use her.
Yeah.
She's great. And Jack, what's your favorite Neo Geo?
So my favorite Neo Geo game is actually a little bit uncharacteristic for me. It's actually a golf game. It's called Neo Turf Masters. I want to say it has another name outside of the States, but that's what they called it over here, was Neo Turf Masters. And it's a golf game. Like it's really cool. It's kind of the Tiger Woods style where you get the meter that goes up and then comes back down. You got to hit the button a few times to get it to go at the right pace and the right spin and everything. The courses are great and they get ridiculous later on. The characters are all fun. They have different strengths and weaknesses. It's a beautiful looking game. The sprite work, like Brick said, is amazing on just anything that IREM or SNK did at that time. And the music's just very soothing. It's a very relaxing game. If I'm having a stressful day at work, we have an arcade machine at the office, I will go over and play probably 4 or 5 holes of Neo Turf Masters just to kind of bring things down a little bit, because it's just very, very nice.
It is. Of the golf games, I would say it's probably the best of all consoles.
Man, what a cool workplace to have. Arcade machine with Neo Geo games on it.
Yeah.
There.
I have a Famicom
I've
in my
got
office.
foosball, but that's not the same.
But yeah, tell us about your pick, Maul.
Yeah, actually, I just threw this on here because we added Neo Geo kind of last, and
I was like, hey, can we do this?
Yeah, why not? It's probably not the best game on there, but I mean, the best game is probably like Metal Slug or whatever. But I went with World Heroes because
is that the one we played?
Yeah. Started that up. I remember it from it was in Gambino's Pizza back when they had the Neo Geo, and that had like Magician Lord and World Heroes, and maybe like King of Monsters. I don't know. Which is also pretty great. So Samurai Showdown. So there's some great stuff on the system, but World Heroes is the one we're playing the most, and just because of it's just a trashy Street Fighter clone, as so many games of the era were.
I like the environment stuff though.
Yeah, and that's what made it stand out to me, was the environments. There's always a few things that like the SNK fighters did, like like Art of Fighting, you could do like 2-on-1 matches and stuff like that were great. But with World Heroes, it was the environment. So you'd have, if you choose deathmatch, like the walls would have spikes on them, or you'd be in a wrestling ring and the ropes are on fire. And if you can like knock your opponent back into them, you get some animations where they ignite and then you can beat them up a little more. Super unfair. Really fun. I don't know. I just, and all the characters, Street Fighter style, are all like terrible, stereotypes of their particular nation. So
hey,
that phrase,
I don't know if Rasputin's not Russian, man.
Yeah, the Russia's Rasputin. Well, and then like, I picked the guy from Germany, so you can imagine what he was. I feel like he must have been maybe a reference to the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure anime character, because it was cyborg Nazi also, and there was a character about that same time in JoJo's that was also like a Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator looking like Nazi cyborg character. So I mean, there's a lot of IP theft in Japan. You'll find throughout everything. So anyway,
especially in that period.
Not the greatest game, but goddamn, we had a lot of fun. So
yeah, that was fun. No, it was fun playing with that with you the other day too. Logan and Darria, I know that you're big Neo Geo fans, but you just can't pick one game today. But Logan, you can catch us up with the chat if there's anything more.
One new chat. Storm Eagle says Neo Geo game for me is the King of Fighters '96.
It's great. I also really like Garu Mark of the Wolves. It's a really cool
Mark
one.
of the
Oh,
Wolves is
yes.
awesome.
So
City of the Wolves coming out here pretty soon too.
Ooh.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of fighters that I thought about as we were going through our lists, and Neo Geo just of that era had so many good ones.
So many good ones.
But if I had to pick one, it had to be the middle of the road. So.
All right. So switching gears to very different types of games for the most part here. This game is, these are all very special to me, but if we look at PC and Mac games 1990 to 2002, there are so many there. And this is probably my prime PC gaming time, to be honest with you. Anyway, but there's so many great games. But I have to say Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight. This is probably some of the seeds of BreakmanX.com kind of go back to this era, because I got this game, and then Shadow got this game, and his brother got this game, and we started a clan. First we were Sith, New Sith Brotherhood, and then we decided our conscience got the best of us, so we became Saber's light side. But we had this clan, and we competed on Case's Ladder, and I was number 2 at some point, and then you fall, but it was pretty cool to be able to compete on the Internet Gaming Zone, and we'd go out and recruit. And we actually had a pretty substantial clan. It's probably my favorite clan in terms of online gaming that I've ever been a part of. And it was just so much fun. So Dark Forces, Jedi Knight 2. I loved the lightsaber battles, and met so many friends that through that game. So yeah, gotta go with JK. It was a lot of fun.
It's a great game. It is probably still my favorite next to probably Jedi Fallen Order. It's probably my favorite Star Wars game. Although I'm hedging now that I'm thinking about it. TIE Fighter is still really good.
Yeah. See, that was a tough one to skip too, because TIE Fighter was like really brought me back into PC gaming.
Yeah. But like Jedi Knight, like Quake 3 engine, the mixture of in the story mode between the live action and what you actually got to play through was so cool and so revolutionary at the time. I think I had to get a new PC to run it because the first one I had didn't have enough video RAM to run it.
Yeah, I started out running that game at like 320 by 240. I had to get an upgrade. It looked like a big vomit on the screen.
Yeah,
it was pretty bad there for a little bit. So, but yeah, such a great game, and I know this next one is one that is pretty good too.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with the first person theme here, and well, I guess Jedi Knight's third person also. But anyway, first person, the granddaddy of them all, Doom. Just, run through, rip and tear, Doom. It was revolutionary in so many ways. Carmack and oh my gosh, Romero and all those guys over there at id just made a complete game changer. I can't say enough about how much Doom influenced the rest of the gaming industry from that point forward. Not just first person shooters, but just the industry in general. It really changed things, advanced graphics and what the capabilities were on 486s by so much, and really set the stage for what they were going to do with Quake after Doom and Doom 2.
Awesome. Excellent choice. I probably spent a lot more time with Doom 2, to be honest with you, but Doom is such a fabulous game. And
yeah. Oh, I didn't even mention like multiplayer, like IPX, SPX, IP multiplayer, like playing Doom over the internet was an insane idea.
Did you ever like call your friend's computer and connect to it?
Yes, we found a way to do it.
Yeah. Some rocket launchers through those phone lines. That's for sure.
Our childhoods were so great and so lame at the same time.
Yeah.
So great. So great is what you mean. Great.
I mean, we look at it back now, we're like, man, that was such a great time. But the limitations, how did we live through all that?
It made it more fun. I mean, when you, it never, at least for me, it never worked quite right. And then when you finally got connected, it was like, oh my God, we can play for 10 minutes until the connection screws up again. And then hey, get off the phone. I need to call somebody. It's like, I'm playing Doom. But those were the days, as they might say. But Maul,
they were just bad connections and having to pay for the internet, and senators trying to say that was making us into murderers, and good times.
Yeah, we would all be in jail. But take us to the dark world.
Yeah, so my pick from this era was definitely Diablo 2, which I think in my mind still remains kind of the peak of the series. I love the isometric view, like looting, monster killing, dungeon dwelling kind of stuff. I mean, Diablo 1, when it came out, just blew me away. 2 improved on it so much, with being able to craft items, more variations in enemies and environments. Like, if it was possible to have a darker story, it was a darker story, and it just brought a lot of stuff into the lore, and was a great game. Yes, and then 3, it's still fun, but has a totally different vibe, really, with the more kind of like cartoony sprites and everything. I don't know that anything else has really quite beat it in that, that type, that genre. We've had some pretty close ones though, with like Divinity and Baldur's Gate: Dark Alliance, and some great ones like that too. But that one's still pretty peak for me.
Very good choice. So I saw the corner of my eye, Storm Eagle mentioned Unreal Tournament, and I just can't not mention it after him, because that was my first LAN party not going through the phone line situation. And I'll never forget, Chris Johnson, if you're out there, had all of our PCs hooked up, taking way too much power in the basement. And I'll never forget shooting 5 rockets at him, and he's on this tower, and he just looks over, and there's 5 and I could see him right at his PC doing this, and his character looks over and he just goes, "Oh crap." And that's still one of my all-time favorite LAN party moments. You don't get that online. But
yeah.
Sorry to mention one. We, at some point there's going to be more games that we've got to talk about. There's just so many. This is heartbreaking to have to pick some of these. So, but Logan,
yeah,
what's yours?
So I'm kind of fudging with this one. It's Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, which was supposed to release at the end of 2002. It actually released early 2003. But it's
get him out of here.
It's the only PC game from that era that I've actually played. Although I have played some of the other Jurassic Park builder games as well, like Jurassic World Evolution. But I think I enjoy, to some extent, the Jurassic Park Operation Genesis gameplay a little bit more. Like, I just remember it getting very chaotic at the end, dealing with all kinds of dinosaurs, like eating guests and everything. Like, it was great.
The authentic Jurassic Park experience.
Oh yeah.
I was actually a little worried when I saw you typing out the document. You know, we got the Google Doc we're all working on, and I saw Jurassic Park come up, and I was like, "Oh no, he's gonna put Trespasser! Oh no!"
No, I haven't tried that one. I've heard.
Do not play Trespasser.
Okay.
No. There's a well, they tried to do something with that game, and they fell flat on their face.
They did not. They did not do it. They did not do it. All right, moving on here to one of my absolute favorite consoles of all time. And Maul actually sold me my first Saturn back in, I think, 2002. I'd missed out on the Saturn completely and thought it was basically kind of a worthless system, which is completely wrong. I love the Saturn now. And as I grew my library and then eventually got an ODE, I absolutely love the Saturn. It's one of my absolute favorite systems. It's maybe my favorite controller of all time, the Japanese one. You know, I love Mega Man 8 and X4 a little bit better than the PlayStation. Well, objectively, maybe not, but there's some differences that I like. It could be argued either way, I think. But it was the beginning platform of development. But anyway, going on to my favorite, I've talked too much. I absolutely love Radiant Silvergun. This is my game. This is my Neo Turf Masters. If I'm stressed out, if I've had a bad day, something crazy's happened, I just turn on Radiant Silvergun and I play until all my lives are gone. I absolutely love that game. I love the music. You know, it sounds very similar to Final Fantasy Tactics because it's the same composer. But you start out with all the weapons, which is unusual for a shooter. And they're all mapped to different buttons, and it's kind of almost like a puzzle in terms of using the best weapon for the best situation. But Radiant Silvergun, Ikaruga is good too on the Dreamcast, but Radiant Silvergun will always be my favorite shmup of all time, my favorite Saturn game of all time.
Man,
it's probably one of my top
until
5.
I hear your list, how much you're into like the bullet hell games.
I got more into them, really with the Saturn and later. Yeah, I'd love, and I was playing it with BreakmanX recently, Radiant Silvergun, and he got into it too, which was cool because he's mostly kind of first-person shooter. But he was like, "What's this?" And then he kind of liked the strategy aspect of it, and also really great use of the Saturn's hardware because the Saturn was, you know, you utilize 2 different processors and all sorts of stuff, and it makes good use of both of them. So the graphics are really astoundingly good. So Radiant Silvergun, I'll probably review it at some point here on our channel because it's just so good. I'm working on a Devil May Cry one right now. But anyway,
nice.
Radiant Silvergun, if you've not played it, it's also available on the 360, so therefore the Series X. I just, because I'm dumb, I like the original version better, mainly because of the controller. I'm so used to the mapping of the original Saturn controller, I have a hard time going then to the 360. The 360 version has upscaled graphics and a lot of benefits and things like that. But I do prefer the original. I think it's a subjective choice. But Jack, you have another. Oh, go. You have another really cool choice. I was really excited to see this one on the list.
Yeah, this one. So I completely forgot this actually got a Saturn release. But Elevator Action Returns. I'm kind of fudging a little bit here because that's another one of my favorite arcade games between 1990 and 1999. But Elevator Action Returns is awesome. If you've ever played the original arcade game or even the NES port, Elevator Action's awesome. Just fun little simple shoot 'em up, which you can crush dudes in elevators, you can jump around, you get to go indoors, you get secret files. Elevator Action Returns does the next evolutionary step, give you 3 different character choices. Graphics are great. It's some really good sprite work. They do some really inventive things with the level design. It's kind of that next step up, and it's a really it's an amazing game that really didn't get a lot of play because it really didn't get much showing over here in the States. But it's an amazing game. If you like elevator action, if you like shooters, it's awesome.
It's fun. It almost is like not really, but it reminds me of Smash Brothers in a way. Just
a little bit,
the side-scrolling layout and kind of different things. It's not quite there, but I get a little Smashy feel.
Yeah, but you know, it's cool. Like they added little like environmental things, so you can like knock over barrels and roll them into guys that are coming out of doors and set them on fire. It's great.
Awesome.
Yeah, murder.
Yes, murder and death. Murder and death. So, Maul, what's your choice for the Sega Saturn?
I'll just throw out there. This is my pick for both this and the upcoming Sony PlayStation. So you guys can roll on by me on the next system. But it is, it's I guess my favorite game of the generation, if you will.
Oh wow.
Was Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I still play that like once every year or two. You know, bust that back out. I mean, already a Castlevania fan. I think a lot of us are. If you watched last episode, it had a few appearances at different spots.
Gotta get you to play that sometime, Jack.
Which one?
I'm joking. Castlevania in general.
But it's just like it's so good, and for some people maybe it's a little different, a little sacrilegious because you aren't a Belmont, you aren't whipping things, you know, for the most part. But instead of playing as Alucard, Dracula's son,
So
named
cool.
very he wasn't the most creative when he named his kid. But yeah, I don't know. It's great. It's like the first one that really opened up the series. It would change everything that came after it. You know, the open world castle, the ability to go back and re-explore things with new powers, weapon sets, leveling up. The soundtrack is just like peak. I mean, it's just there's so much to it. Like, and again, it's one of those that's often imitated, but in many ways never equaled again. So it's great.
Such a great game, and completely random through my thousands and thousands of songs, the Symphony of the Night soundtrack started playing when you started talking about it. So
See, there you go. This has happened twice now.
that you have some magical power, because I've literally got like weeks and weeks worth of video game soundtracks. So that is pretty cool that happened.
Yeah.
All right, Logan, do you want to catch us up on the chat? Symphony of the Night's great, by the way. I might talk about it a little bit more on the PlayStation side. It's one of my absolute favorite games of that gen too. It's another one that I also replay every once in a while.
Yeah, the Saturn has a bit of advantage in having Maria is playable as well. So you have that super challenging option.
That's another
really
one of
into
those that the Saturn community recently enhanced. It supports the RAM cart now, and it's helped some of the frame rate issues and some other things, loading times, etc. So go Saturn community. And yeah.
So there are a couple of new comments on here. Storm Eagle says the best Saturn game of all time is Guardian Heroes, the greatest RPG beat 'em up game of all time, greatest soundtrack, great characters, and one of the characters is 300 pounds of undead fury. And then Meat Sword McGravy says, I just knew Maul's a miserable pile of secrets.
What is a man?
Which, another reason you have to play the original version if you can, because they redubbed it in like the new remastered editions and tried to make it less cheesy.
Don't do it.
No, that cheese is a part of the charm.
Sorry, Maul, did you play Vampire Survivors yet? The new Castlevania DLC?
Did I? I don't know that I have. No, probably not then.
You should definitely check it out. I mean, if you love any of the Castlevania games or Symphony of the Night, they do it justice, especially towards the end.
Okay, we will check it out then.
Awesome. I love. Right. Supposedly the cheesiness, and this could be something they just said later, but supposedly the cheesiness was meant to mimic kind of the cheesy horror B-horror genre they were going with. I don't know, but I love the cheesy dialogue, even if it's.
Yeah, I think that's probably just them trying to cover their butts at the time, but you know, like.
But they tried.
They did try.
Cool effort. Well, let's move on to the PlayStation.
Wait! We got a late entry here.
Oh, that was a joke. I was joking with her.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I put A Bug's Life for Darria's, but she doesn't really like that game. Or do you, baby? I don't know. There's actually a game called Bug that I was thinking of.
I had
but
the
put
Bugs Life game for PlayStation,
well, there you go. So maybe I was reaching not so far.
but it is not one of my favorites for PlayStation by any means.
All right, let's move on to the PlayStation. One of my absolute favorite consoles. Again, like if you think about the best consoles of all time, we're looking at so many of them, the NES, but the PlayStation had so many amazing, especially JRPGs, and lots of genres, but I just love the JRPGs on that system. But it may come as a surprise which game that I'm picking. You made me feel better about it. No. Final Fantasy VII. I love Final Fantasy VII. I got that game right when it came out. I'd been watching the trailers and everything for it. I loved Final Fantasy 6/3, and watching all the trailers and everything throughout the development cycle and just everything I could eat up and watch about it. And then when it finally came out and I got to play it, I was just like so glued to it. I mean, I had like Sephiroth written all over my notebooks, and like I actually got contacts to match Sephiroth's eye color, so I'd have Mako eyes. I could go on and on. Every my friends at school were like, they knew all about the Final Fantasy VII story because I was telling them about what was going on, and the summons that I would get, and the weapons, and all of that. So. And the story is still probably my favorite story of any kind of narrative of all time. I actually ended up doing undergrad religious studies, and I wrote my thesis, like our dissertation, on Final Fantasy VII and the religious symbolism within. And it was a really fun paper to write because there's actually quite a bit in there throughout. Sephiroth is the Kabbalah, the God's power on earth, and Jewish mysticism, and there's stuff taken from all over the place, and it really doesn't make sense like coming together, but there's lots of interesting pieces. So anyway, that's a long way of saying I love Final Fantasy VII. If you haven't played it, what are you doing? Go play it. I mean, come on, it's so good. It's so good. And Jack's got a pretty good pick too, though. It's another game I was playing during that time period.
I'd say, yeah, mine's probably the opposite end of the spectrum. I don't know how much everybody knows about me, but I love fighting games. So my choice on the PlayStation, I thought I was going to go with the original Tekken just because it was the first one and it was arcade perfect just about for the home console release. And it has that Galaga minigame. But I decided to go with Tekken 3. Tekken 3, secret characters, extra characters. You get Tekken Ball. I mean, I don't know how you don't pick Tekken 3. Eddie Gordo's first appearance, even though he's, cheap as hell. But, just Tekken 3 is kind of where the series really clicked for me. And I will take anybody on in any of the Tekken games except for Tekken 4 because it's kind of,
Tekken is it's like one of two games that my sister-in-law likes. She likes that and Jeopardy for like the N64. Weird combination, I know. But she actually bought Tekken 3 when she found out that I had a PlayStation, and so that's how I ended up playing that game. And Hurong. I love Hurong, even though he's super cheap. Maybe that's why I like him. I don't know. But great game. It runs amazing on the PlayStation. Like it looks so good.
It always amazes me how well they get that thing to run on whichever system, whether it's Tekken 3 on the PlayStation 1, Tekken Tag on the PS2, or even Tekken 8 on current consoles. Like they prioritize speed and they prioritize gameplay over everything else, and when it all comes together, it's beautiful.
Awesome. Do you have anything to add about Alucard? Anything more?
Well, we already covered, Castlevania and sung its praises and everything. I would like to mention those in general, that this one, when we were doing our research and kind of going back over the game lists and everything, this is where I noticed like a bit of a divide for me, like in almost like game eras or maybe connections to some of the games. Because while there's still many great games and I'll be able to find favorites and all the systems moving forward and everything, this to me was the generation that had the biggest variety. When going back over the list, looking at top games, there were just dozens and dozens that if anybody picked one, I could be like, yeah, that's a great pick. I can see why that's your favorite. Be it Final Fantasy, Street Fighter Alpha 3, Metal Gear Solid. Just so much on the PlayStation, so much weird variety. And then as it moves forward from here, I think a lot of people will see like still a good number of games, but the industry, as so many things do, starts to like coalesce, and like everyone's kind of opinions that they gravitate towards, the variety becomes smaller as you go. Like everyone's right behind all the AAA titles, and a lot of the very avant-garde, very indie titles are kind of like left behind, other than maybe as downloadables where they're a little more obscure, or of course, as always, a lot of weird stuff is in Japan.
Yeah, it's very true. I love that gen for that reason. I got a ODE for my PlayStation, so I've played all sorts of bizarre games in the last year. Some once, but some more than once that are very good. And Darria, we've finally entered your lifetime. Like you
Yes.
exist now. So since you exist, why don't you tell us about your existence?
So, I, growing up, was an absolutely like massive Harry Potter fan, and read the books multiple times. I moved quite a bit when I was younger, so the books were something that was like a constant for me. And so when I found like that I could play the games, on the PlayStation, I played Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone over and over and over. And I know PS1 Hacker became a meme at one point last year, I think, because of the way that the expressions were mapped over the character. But that's kind of like what I would play frequently. But one thing that I played more with like my dad and sister was Space Invaders. The port that Activision did, with like updated graphics, and you go from planet to planet, like 10 levels. There was like a level of motherships that you had to defeat like midway through.
I need to play. I've never played that.
Loved
It's a cool
playing
port.
that.
Yeah.
You taught me a
And
game.
then you had a boss at the end of each like set of levels.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that sounds fun.
super cool. And then another just like quick mention is Pac-Man World. I loved playing Pac-Man World.
Those are 3 games, Darria. 3 games.
I know, but I figure I hadn't had so much before to say, so.
No, it's okay. It's
She
okay.
gets
No,
the makeup. That's right.
that's totally fine. You are welcome to it. I genuinely love having you here and hearing your opinion. So thank you for gracing us with that. Logan, do you want to catch us up on the chat room?
Yeah, so Storm Eagle's got a couple more. Prepare yourself, Break. Storm Eagle says, my favorite PlayStation game is The Legend of Dragoon.
That's a
Good
good one.
music, good characters, a better Sephiroth that's not
That's
Mommy's
not
boy
true.
named Lloyd. Right.
Sorry about that, but you're wrong. Wrong.
And then Storm Eagle also says, Tekken 3 Jack is the best fighting game on the PS1. Easy top 6 game of all
So
time.
good. I want to go play it like now, but I'll stay here because this is fun. Cool. So the PlayStation, it feels so bizarre to go beyond the PlayStation had such variety. I also really like Chrono Cross, but we'll talk about that another day. Moving on to the N64, also within the lifetime of Darria. So we've moved into Darria's existence again. But I really, I don't know how you don't pick Super Mario 64, but I didn't. Super Mario 64 is such a, I talk about it all the time in my video game design class. It's such a well-designed game. There's so much. I remember, so I don't know if y'all had IRC back in the day, but I had IRC, and I found this game developer, and I was like, whoa, someone that actually develops games. And I remember getting to talk to her, and she told me why Super Mario 64 was such a well-designed game and how it did so much for the industry and just all this. And it really changed the way I looked at games. So Phelan, Mandy Paw, if you're out there, thank you for telling me that, because I looked at games very differently. But anyway, I'm not going to pick Super Mario 64 as much as it pains me. I have to go with Star Fox 64. I love Star Fox 64. There's the Independence Day level, which I love just going to and playing, and get all the spaceships flying around and pretending I'm Will Smith. It's just such a great game, and I think it's the pinnacle of the Star Fox series. I don't think it's been eclipsed, and I hope at some point Nintendo is able to make another Star Fox game that is at least close to that level. I've played all of them.
That is anything. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Star Fox Zero is like, okay, the Wii U pad, shove it in your face, I guess. I don't know. And then the other one, the 3DS version was pretty cool, but it's still pretty much the same game. But it's great music, great gameplay. Still probably my favorite dogfighting game of all time, maybe even eclipsing TIE Fighter. So if you haven't played Star Fox 64 and you like space battles, what are you doing? I mean, like I don't even know you. Jack, you have a great choice that I think probably most people will go for.
Yeah, again, we're going back to the first-person shooter theme here. So my favorite for the N64 is 007 GoldenEye. I loved the movie, and when I found out there was a home console game for it on the N64, that was the game I got with my N64. I didn't get Mario 64, I got GoldenEye. And shortly thereafter, I found out it was amazing to have 3 other friends come over and we could play 4-player GoldenEye on the same system, on the same TV. And while you had to squint to kind of see everything that was going on, it was a game changer for home console play for me. It was so fun. It was so frenetic. The single player was good. But nothing will top the multiplayer in around that time with GoldenEye. So many fun different ways, playing slappers in some of the halls. It was just great.
It's great. That's the first console FPS that I can remember liking. Awesome. So great choice. Maul. I remember I talked with you about this game back in GameCo. You made me try. I tried Paper Mario because of you.
Back in the day. Yep. Paper Mario. Which, real quick, since you talked about Mario 64, I just had to mention one other interesting observation while we were doing our research, making our list, is how often. Did I mention this last episode? I don't remember. How often?
Mention again.
How often the launch title for the games is one of the top tier.
Yeah.
So often they put their best foot forward and then don't get around to that level of mastery again until later in the lifespan of the system, but all the Mario games, whenever they hit, remain top tier for so long on that system. It's just always something big about those. And then of course, once we get to Xbox, a couple of notable ones there, Anyway, Paper Mario though. I didn't play a whole lot of the N64 games, super obsessively. I didn't own the system. I played a lot of them while working in, game shops or going over for, GoldenEye parties, and all of us, crouched around a 19-inch TV, trying to get a good view of the 4-player split screen. This one one that stands out to me. I remember playing it a lot when I was at KU. I was overworked, working a full-time job and just being a full-time student. And the girl I was seeing at the time got it. It was brand new. And I would sit in her living room and play Paper Mario, and I would literally black out and fall asleep on the floor. And she would come over and save the game for me, and I'd resume the next day until I blacked out again. And it was a good time.
Just as Miyamoto intended.
Yeah. I remember it was great. It's a really fun vibe, a good story, and I really thought they did a lot of clever stuff with the 2D, 3D paper, kind of aesthetic. And, it's just a cute, clever game. I don't know if that should make it my favorite on the system, but I remember it very fondly, and would play that one again for sure. As I would with Mario and the 7 Stars on the Super Nintendo as well. They really turned the Mario world into, a good story time somewhere in there somehow.
Nice choice.
We're in a random world full of mushrooms. Just somehow epic story.
Basically, if you get the games that we picked for the N64, you're pretty much good. Although there's one really big omission that maybe we should just have Darria say it at the end just to round out our list. But Logan, you picked the one that I had a heart attack not picking. Of course, the game design student does it.
Yeah. Well, and actually, this is the only N64 game I've ever had the opportunity to try, and I didn't even get to try it on an N64. I tried it on the Switch port. But I just found the level design to be very addictive. I like borrowed the cartridge on my friend's Switch, so I played through like the first few levels, and yeah, I just remember how fun it was, like trying each new power up that I would encounter and figuring out how to use it. And like when I saw like I kind of puzzle solve my way through the levels, and when I find like new ways to use something, it was really exciting. And yeah, just a really solid game, very well designed.
Yes, definitely. And you should sometime, My Life in Gaming has this video where they tried to analyze different N64 controllers beyond the first party one. And it shows how intricate they use the analog stick with that, because basically the N64, the first party controller, was the only one that could actually register the range of movement that for Mario's full various movement. Like there's some new, like the Retro Fighters controller lots of people love lately. It's pretty interesting because he has like a whole analysis thing that he does on it. It gave me a whole different way of looking at even just the way that they utilize the analog stick in that game. So, Darria, do you want to let words be put in your mouth, or should we move on to the Dreamcast?
I can say the one that you would like me to say.
Yeah, please.
Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
I thought surely you're gonna have her say Clay Fighter 63 and a third. But
It was close. The Ocarina was so good. Oh my god. I told this on the show before, but I pre-ordered that game so far in advance, and then the day came for release, and I didn't get it, and I called, and somehow they didn't ship it to me. And then literally a month later, meanwhile, Shadow, spoiled who Sheik was. Thank you, Shadow. I get
remember you telling the story.
Yeah, I get it a month later. I get Quake 2 expansion pack in the mail from them, and I call them like, what is, I didn't have Quake at the time, or a PC that could run it that but I got Quake 2 expansion pack somehow. And then finally 2 weeks after that, so 6 weeks after it comes out, I get Ocarina of Time. No gold cartridge, by the way.
Oh,
EB.
no.
Thank you for losing that for me. But anyway, great game, and it was worth the wait. But I was very pissed off for about 6 weeks.
I would be if I were you too, man. Wow.
yeah, and worth mentioning though too. I mean, that game like established what like the camera would be like in every 3D game, basically going forward to today. Like it's fundamental, you know.
It's interesting too, just like as like a time capsule thing. At least your situation there, like. You'd think if you had ordered something from like Amazon and it took 6 weeks to get to you instead of like the next day.
I know, right? Yeah, looking back, I can't believe I was so mad. Everyone was playing it. All my friends were playing it. And Shadow like called me. He's like, "Oh my god, you'll never guess who Sheik is." I'm like, "Don't tell me." And he's like, "Zelda." I'm like, I was so mad.
one of the three people in that world. In retrospect,
looking back on it, but I didn't want any spoilers. And like I didn't know there were only three people because I hadn't played the game. But
well, there are NPCs, but name any of them. It's Zelda, Link, and Ganon. That's it. So you got.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, but I'm so mad at Shadow about it. I'll never forgive him. But 99.99. We mentioned this last time, but Jack I know was in the same boat here. But my first job, I saved up for quite a while to be able to get Dreamcast on launch day on $9.99 and a few games. And I was really stoked. They, by the way, almost gave my Dreamcast away too. If I hadn't been there, they would have given it away. Yeah, they had no idea what they were doing. But it wasn't like the operation that Jack and I ran. Well, Jack pretty much mostly, but me slightly at GameStop yeah. But the Sega Dreamcast, awesome system. I love the Dreamcast. I have a huge soft spot for it. And I have to go with Resident Evil Code Veronica. Basically, this was the first game that my wife, BreakmanX, and I played together. It was this one summer, and I'd been kind of spending basically all my money on our dates and things, and I was starting to feel, we went to a game store, and she could tell I was really looking at at Code Veronica, and I loved Resident Evil, and she like was like, get it. Now I thought that was really cool that she like wanted me to get it. But anyway, we beat it together, played through it, and that's still like one of our really fond memories is playing through that game. And Jack, you changed your choice.
I did. I love Code Veronica also. It was really tough. That was my choice until
not that
30
much.
seconds ago.
Not that much anymore.
I love
you
it.
found out I liked it, and you're like, nope.
Well, no, it just gives me a chance to talk about a game I really like it too.
I'm joking.
No, Code Veronica is awesome. I'll just real quick, like Resident Evil 2 came out, blew me away. Resident Evil 3 came out on the PlayStation. I was just kind of like, eh. And then when I found out they were making Code Veronica, I was like, oh, that's the real one. We got both Redfields in this one. This is the real Resident Evil 3. So I was like, all right, well, this is going to be great. It's an awesome Resident Evil game. Really sets the stage for kind of what they do in 4, but it's pretty awesome. But that being said, like you mentioned, I changed my mind. I went with another fighting game, Capcom versus SNK 2, Millennium Fight 2000. Like it's all your favorite SNK characters, it's all your favorite Capcom characters, and some bonus ones they just kind of threw in there. So you can have Rolento from Final Fight fighting Geese Howard. Like it's great. You can do some really fun matches. Like it's all team battles, so you can do like. You can make Geese really powerful, and you can make him fight 3 wimpy dudes on the other side. It is awesome, and the stage design's cool. Music's great. It's one of my favorite fighting games of all time.
It's a really good choice. I'm surprised you didn't pick the one Maul picked, but I'm definitely. I think it's pretty cool. I remember playing that one a lot with you on the Xbox. Actually, we got that little arcade stick, and back like. When Xbox Live was like in its infancy. I still have that arcade stick, actually, both of them. But
man, SNK, what great stuff.
Snook. But Maul, you've got one that would probably be the one I would pick had I not picked the one I picked. That was a lot of picking.
Soul Calibur.
The Soul Silver.
Such a fun game. Welcome back
to the stage of history.
That I don't know. It's that's like one of my favorite 3D fighters, and probably will remain such. It just it plays at great speed. It's so smooth. The characters are all so unique. It's one of those that I remember seeing the first Soul Edge right in arcades back when that came out, and pretty cool game. But man, this one just took everything that it did and just just ran with it entirely. So I don't know what really I can define anything else that really makes it stand out, but just like one of those great, like mechanically perfect kind of fighters. I will always main Nightmare.
He's big.
It's just so good.
He's a big guy.
He's very big.
Probably my favorite fighting game of all time, I'd have to say.
Oh yeah. Nice.
And my favorite Soul Calibur.
It is the best without a doubt, the best Soul Calibur game of the 6 they've made.
When I played as Killick, I was imagining I was Darth Maul. I just have to do that. I was like, if only it was a lightsaber. So Maul. Logan, good pick for you too, sir.
Yeah. So this is actually a game I've never gotten to play, but I want to someday. Sonic Adventure 2. And the reason why I put this one on there is actually mostly because of the story. When I was introduced to Sonic, originally through the movies, and then my first Sonic game was Mania, which I really loved. I started getting more into looking up the characters, and of course Sonic Adventure 2 introduced Shadow, and that backstory is legendary. So I just really want to try the game sometime and experience where that story came from. And of course the third Sonic movie that just released was awesome.
I got the demo on, and Storm Eagle mentioned Phantasy Star Online. I got the demo with Phantasy Star Online, which Phantasy Star Online, great, sunk so many hours into that on the Dreamcast. Couldn't believe I was playing online on a console. But Yeah, Sonic Adventure 2 I got on the GameCube, and I was like, I am playing a Sega game on a Nintendo system, and it's Sonic. And that, is growing up when we grew up, that was nuts to imagine.
Blasphemy.
Oh yeah.
It'd be like Microsoft putting Xbox games on a Nintendo system. Oh wait. Go back to 2002 and tell me that. I'd have had a big smile. Now it's just kind of cool. But yeah. Darria, you've definitely played my Dreamcast. You've definitely you played my Dreamcast.
I don't even know.
You've played the Dreamcast. I don't want Maul getting mad at me saying, "Why didn't you have her play the Dreamcast?" No, she definitely played the Dreamcast.
What
Apparently
did we
didn't make an
play?
impression. We played a few games. We played Soul Calibur. I know. You didn't like it. We played a few.
It's very rare that I don't like stuff.
Well, Matt, you didn't say you didn't like it. I just got the vibe. But that's okay.
didn't
You don't have
say
to
I
like
didn't
everything.
like it.
You didn't say it. Okay. I read your mind. All right. So PlayStation 2, best-selling game system of all. Oh.
One last thing. Let's just pour one out for Sega, as that's the last system.
I know.
That is their last one on here.
Yeah.
It is true. The Xbox was kind of the Dreamcast.
What a legacy of systems that are unappreciated in their time, but 20 years later, everyone wants them, and their games are incredibly expensive.
Yeah. I love the Saturn. I actually like the Dreamcast. I was trying to get everyone to buy a Dreamcast. I was at school. I was like, you got to get the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast is so awesome. I did the same thing with the GameCube. I was just as successful with both of them. Sorry, Sega, Nintendo. I tried.
Great hardware. They have the best hardware.
Oh yeah, I love
the selling point for me in the shop. And
there's 3 or 4 years of me talking about how great the GameCube is out there.
It's recorded for posterity.
Yeah. So moving on to that gen. Actually, this is such a great generation. The PS2, GameCube, and Xbox was such an amazing generation of games, and all three systems were really we're kind of all the systems really in the gens have been great so far. But the PS2. This was hard for me. There are so many PS2 games that are great. And when the PS2 was out, I liked it, but I was a little down on it because to me it was that's the least powerful system. I don't want to play third-party games on it. But the games that were designed for the PS2, and John Linneman has a lot of great PS2 stuff. Modern Vintage Gamer has some great stuff on YouTube about it. But the PS2, I did not give it enough credit in its day because when it was utilized as it was supposed to be utilized, similar to the Saturn, it actually was pretty cool. They weren't able to do the rain effects on the Xbox and Metal Gear Solid as the same as they were able to do on the PS2 just because of the way the hardware design. Xbox definitely had more raw horsepower, but the PS2 had some very interesting things you could do with it. But anyway, I went back and forth and I was just, what is the game to me that was most memorable for me on the PS2? And Final Fantasy X, is the last Final Fantasy game that I really, really loved. After that, there's some that I like, but Final Fantasy X, I really, really enjoyed. I remember staying up all night playing it, and hoping that I would like it as much as 7 and didn't, but, really like it. I like the story, how it kind of delves into the weird Yevon religious thing. It's kind of bizarre and nonsensical, but I like it. Love the fighting system, like the sphere grid. I could have gone with a few different games here, to be honest with you, but I'm gonna have to go with FF10 and Sin and the storyline that's But yeah, Jack's got a great one here.
Not to discount Blitzball, but Metal Gear Solid 3 is my pick. It's Kojima at his craziest. Well, not his craziest, but at the time, this was his craziest. Some truly memorable boss battles, and this is coming from the guy that gave you, Revolver Ocelot and Psycho Mantis. I mean, you fight the end, and you can literally save your game, pick it up a week later, and the guy's dead. You don't even have to fight him. You've got some amazing story in there. Just learning about how Big Boss really became Big Boss. it's awesome. I'm really looking forward to Metal Gear Delta when it comes out. I think later this year, because I think the number one drawback for Metal Gear Solid 3 playing it now is how often you have to go into the menu system and change your camouflage. Like literally, it is
Brutal.
Like take 4 steps, go into the menu, change your camouflage. All right, take 4 more steps, do the same thing, rinse and repeat. And it gets a little better towards the end when you're not doing so much stealth. But it's if you go back and try to play it now, it's a little painful. But it's still just an amazing game with an amazing story. And I highly recommend it if you're a big fan of the Metal Gear games and you haven't played 3 yet.
I still have my vinyl from E3. I don't know if you remember, but E3, the press kit for that, there was a vinyl of the Metal Gear Solid 3, like some of the music and stuff, and it's pretty cool.
Snake Eater, yeah.
Yeah, Snake Eater, which we were like, but you know, sort of made sense once the game came out. But Maul, I'm glad that you picked this one. I don't think this one gets talked about enough.
Right. No, I started to, and again with the divide, right? When I was saying like the past games, there was so much like just avant-garde weird stuff, and now we've kind of started to get into there where it's like, well, now we know what people want. They want a God of War. They want a Grand Theft Auto, which is why I started to lean towards, because it's still like just bananas fun, whatever. But
Great
I was
music
like,
in
that's
God
not
of War
really
2.
like the game that I had the fondest memories of playing, and this is one like right. It's seldom talked about, out of left field, but my coworker from the game shop, Robin, used to have me over, and he would order a lot of games from Japan, so we would play a lot of bizarre stuff. And this is one that he had that eventually finally got a localization over here in the States. That was pretty tough to get, but Cold Sept is a series that I really wish they still produced some version of. The last one came out, I think, in 2016 as a handheld. But for anyone who hasn't played it before, it's essentially a hybrid of Monopoly and Magic the Gathering. And so you're playing a card/board game against several computer avatars, playing through an RPG storyline, leveling up your deck and the monsters and your characters. But mostly, deck building. And similar to Monopoly, you can get like different color matches across the board that are different elements. You'll lay a monster, a card from your hand, onto the space on the board you're on, and then as you run past it later, like Monopoly with hotels, you can then pump mana into the creatures to level them up. So when your opponent lands on them, it steals more and more of their health points as it attacks them. The boards, of course, getting used to the video game aspect rather than being just a big square, are just like crazy long tracks that have a different sort of geography and different traps and tricks and everything to them. And in true Japanese style, it is weird. It's just a weird game. Like you're taught the game initially by it's an old man, but he's also a walking stick. So it's a very weathered looking like cane that just pogos around and mugs at you when you do something surprising. He's really disturbing looking, honestly. It's a strange game, but it's very fun. And if you like both deck building and board games at all, and just kind of like that JRPG kind of story vibe, it's definitely worth looking into.
Awesome. Very cool.
That's
very
awesome.
Cool. And Darria, I know that this is one that you're pretty passionate about. So, you've got the floor. You don't have to just name one game.
Now, this is probably the one that I've played the most, honestly. Until there was a big span of time where after the PlayStation 2, I didn't have the opportunity to get any other console, so I constantly went back to this one and played lots of different things. But the primary one of those, which I also played with my sister, being Jak and Daxter, and its different sequels. But the first one is the one that I remember, honestly, the most, because we would fight over the controller. We didn't have a memory card at the time, and so we would Yep.
Poor children.
So we would leave it on, turn the TV off, the one that was in our room. It was on my side of the room. And so my sister's, this is my sister's like favorite video game series. Like she has all the games. I actually have some of them like with me. She doesn't know that, but no. And then kind of a spin-off of that very different kind of game, Jack X.
That is a little different.
Yeah. She has completed that 100%. Actually, she's completed all of them 100%. I've done Jack and Daxter all 100%, but she's done all of the other ones.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, Jack X, and I've played that in the past year too. My boyfriend and I were recently playing that on the PS2, and I bought the port version of it for the PS5 so I could play on there as well.
Oh, nice.
But some other like just notable mentions, just because I like frequented them a lot, was I think we had Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. Played that with my sister a lot. And then a bunch of Harry Potter games. as is expected, but Jack and Daxter is definitely the favorite of all of them.
And Jack 2 is your favorite.
Maybe my sister's.
No, I'm kidding. No, I say that because I Jack 2 is the first one I played, and it made me not want to play the whole series, as I mentioned when Try was on. And then thanks to you, when you were here, and I set up the PS2 ODE, I was like, what game? I know you love PS2. What game should we play? And you're like, Jack and Daxter. And that was the first time I'd played the first one. And now, thanks to you, I like Jack and Daxter, the precursor legacy. And what an interesting title, too. But awesome. The PS2, such a great system. I like it more now than I even did before. But moving on to the GameCube. The GameCube.
Console I wish I had.
The GameCube. I love the GameCube. I love the hardware of the GameCube. Like I said, there's like 3 years of me fawning over it. By the way, I will be releasing some of the classic episodes on the channel as we go. Right now, just the Halo 2 one's up there, but I'll probably put the one of Leonard J. Paul, who we're going to have on the show in February. The interview we did with him way back when. I'll put that one up, and some other choice ones if anyone has any suggestions. But GameCube. Love the GameCube. Got it on launch day. BreakmanX and I went to Target, and you couldn't pre-order it, so we were out there from like 4 in the morning until we finally literally had to run to grab one of the 4 that they had at this line of Target. And the other person was there getting an Xbox, and I laughed at them, and then that wasn't a good idea because the Xbox ended up, as we know, there's a history there, became really good. Right. But the GameCube, so again, this was hard for me. There's a lot of games for the GameCube I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite systems all time. I love the design of it. It's BreakmanX, it's their favorite, like how it looks on the outside, like the physical design. But
it's got a handle.
It does, right? You can take it anywhere, right? Although, like, why would you take it anywhere? But you can. I guess Smash Brothers. Smash Brothers is why.
I used to at the game show. I used to take them and hold 2 of them on the handles, and it was just like boxing gloves. I was just attacking things in the store.
I'm just pretty sure that's how they came up with arms.
Right. Could be. Miyamoto was just in the office, like swinging them around, and they're like,
arms.
Yes.
Yeah. This is the first show we've mentioned Miyamoto, and it's taken like 4 shows. That's pretty kooky for me. Huh. I don't think we mentioned him before. I have to look at the transcript.
True, for you, that's something.
Yeah, there was lots of joking about that. But Metroid Prime is what I'm going to go with. I love so many games on the Cube, but Metroid Prime, I just love the exploration of it. I mean, I remember playing it and getting lost in it, and it was really my type of first-person game. I mean, there's lots of great first-person games, but Metroid Prime really hits it for me, probably better than any other first-person game. I didn't like the second one so much. I did like the third one, but that's on the Wii. But Metroid Prime, I love it. The remaster on Switch, if you've got the Switch, it's probably my favorite remaster. Not remake. we know where that goes. But remaster, it's my favorite remaster probably of any game. They did a really phenomenal job of that. Music's great. Anytime it snows, I play the Findrania Drifts music. And in my office I have it like kind of blaring, so anyone that walks by gets that music when it snows.
You've had a lot of opportunity to play that in the snow lately.
I have, yes. I played it. I had to find different remixes, and but no, it's a really, really great game, and I am excited for 4 when it comes out here pretty soon, and I'm gonna probably play the remaster again, hopefully if I get time before then again.
Nice.
Awesome.
Very nice.
But Jack, you've got a really great one. BreakmanX would definitely be on board with this one with you.
Yeah, Resident Evil 4. I mean, again, it's right up there with Street Fighter 2. How many ports has this thing seen since its release? I'm pretty sure it's been released on just about everything, including like 2 different mobile ports. Man, I don't even know where to start. Leon Kennedy's back. It's a direct sequel from 2 and Code Veronica. Completely different setup. No more just mindless zombies trying to kill you. It's like people that think can organize and try to come get you, and they have chainsaws now. It was for me in 2003 when it came out. It was one of those games that really redefined what I thought an action game could be, and really kind of redefined what I thought survival horror was. And they kind of took it down a path with RE5 and RE6 that wasn't quite what I think everybody wanted, but they kind of course corrected with the later Resident Evil games. But 4 is one of those games that, it is one like the remake that came out a few years ago. I love that thing, and I have played through that. I've played through Resident Evil 4, the original, multiple times, and I will continue to do so because it's one of those things when you find a system that clicks as you get those gun upgrades, as you get all those upgrades as you play, it becomes kind of like you get into a loop, that gameplay loop, and it feels so good when you hit it, and it kind of gives you that, I won't say like invincible complex or whatever people want to call it, but it makes you feel really, really powerful. And it's kind of fun just like basically charging through an entire village worth of people
Mass
on the way to save the president's daughter. Yeah.
Yeah. No, so one of my most memorable one of the things I remember most of your phrases on the show was, "What are you buying? What are you selling?
What are you buying? What are you selling?"
There we go. That's what it was on the little montage that I'm putting together for sometime soon. That's one of yours. That and Gaga over Halo 2. Those are the 2 that I remember the most. Yeah. So Maul, again, you turned me on to this game literally after both Jack and you have turned me on to so many of these games, but this one I was at GameCo and then you told me about it and you showed me it and then I literally bought it right then.
Yeah, what a game here. We actually was talking about this game with Darria and Logan not too long ago, and yeah, such a crazy one. Eternal Darkness is just it's one of those games that unfortunately is like lost to time because of rights issues and things. Like people are not it hasn't been reproduced like so many other games kind of have been on the systems. They haven't done like an arcade re-release or anything. Silicon Knights, I think, is the publisher on that, and I just don't think they'll be able to get it like back out. So if you have a chance, get it on the GameCube. Do yourself a favor. It's Lovecraftian, that psychological. It's many of its mechanics are actually based on or inspired by the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game, where every time you encounter a creature, not only do you have like health and mana that used to fight and survive against the creatures, but you also have a sanity bar, and your character will begin to like slowly lose their mind over the course of the game, and so the game actually plays tricks with you in like a meta way. So not only will sometimes like your character see monsters that aren't there, or like you'll walk into a room and it's just full of ammo, and you'll just start picking it all up, and then find out like, oh no, that's not that's not real. None of this is actually here. It all vanishes from your inventory. But also starts just messing with you, where at the player, where you'll be walking around and it'll tell you that there's like a critical error and your memory card just got erased.
That's so the craziest one.
And you'll go over and like, you know, be freaking out, and then it'll like return to normal, and hopefully you didn't turn the system off, you know, in a rage or anything at that point. But it just starts like anything you can do to inspire fear or panic in you, it does. It's an insane game.
This would be a good.
Of course, it's just a great story and a great little adventure anyway.
This would be a good dual stream game. I've seen like Try's done this on the Backloggery, where they each are playing the game at the same time and kind of talking their way through it. It's kind of interesting. I think that one would be good for that because it's such a, I don't know, interesting game in so many different ways. But good pick. And Logan is probably has the most technically impressive game on the cube here.
Yeah, F-Zero GX. This is a game that I've only been able to play once, and it's
Stormy
haunted me
hates it.
ever since. Because it was such a good game, and man, it just feels so good to play it. Like even everything down to the like startup sequence for any race you do, it like pulls down this monitor and then counts down. It just like really builds the anticipation, and it looks gorgeous. Like, sure, it's a little low resolution because of the GameCube, but the appearance of the game holds up. And like, I'm hoping so much that Nintendo eventually does a remaster of the game for the Switch 2, because like I know they can, because they've got the like anti-gravity mechanics from Mario Kart 8, so I would love to see it.
I don't understand why we don't get any more F-Zeros. I love F-Zeros. That is it's a really good one. It's a good pick. What, you want to catch us up on the chat room there?
Yeah, there's been a lot, but
There's been a lot. I'm sorry. It's my fault. I haven't redirected. I've been so into the gushing.
So I'll start with
My wife.
we'll go with
I will never not be able
most of these
to.
are Storm Eagle. Thank you for being so talkative, Storm Eagle.
No, we appreciate it. Anyone else wants to write in too? Member of the Discord or any of our chans.
Yeah, we actively watch it and respond. I've put way too many gifts in there already today.
I shouldn't have called out Nick of Time for doing this at work. I miss him now.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Nick of Time's back now, according to the comments.
Excellent.
In the nick
Yeah.
of time.
So Storm Eagle says his favorite Dreamcast game is Soul Calibur. That changed everything, was the game that surpassed the arcade games. Also loves Phantasy Star Online. The PS2, they originally had Kingdom Hearts 2, but now have Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
Yeah.
They say also Jack, the first time I was about to take on the end, I didn't know about that. If you don't play for a week, the end just dies. That happened on my first playthrough of the game. My buddy was not happy about that. I found out about a few months after I beat the game. That sounds awful.
What a great feature.
Yeah. And then Storm Eagle says Jack and Dexter is an amazing game, the best platformer on the PS2, better than the rest. And yeah, they agree with me on F-Zero. They say the greatest GameCube game of all time is F-Zero GX, best arcade racing game of all time, great controls, best music, arcade AX, unlock stuff for the game if you bring your memory card. Yeah,
Nice.
It is such an exhilarating game. That's the word I'd use to describe it.
Good choices. Well, since we're short on time, we could probably skip the next one. No, I'm kidding.
Wait, can I just call out real quick?
Yeah.
Someone just pointed this out to me the other day about like the amazing design, not just the GameCube, real quick, but its logo.
Oh my god.
Because it is a cube made of other cubes that after it does its animation makes both a G and a C inside of the negative space of the G.
So cool.
And it's like perfect system and perfect logo that unfortunately not enough people owned. But just goddamn, they were
And I
just
love-
trying on every
I love the
possible
controller.
element.
The controller just like fit in my hand. The first time I grabbed it, I just loved it so much.
It's true. It's a weird controller though. I mean, it works. It is like great. It feels good. You know, a lot of stuff with it, but like, you know, asymmetrical buttons all over the place. It makes sense when you're playing it, but you know, you try to sell somebody that versus the PlayStation 1. You know.
Or the Xbox Type S for that matter too.
Yeah, we're all very vain gamers, and just thought it was too weird. What? Big button? No.
Small B.
It was the triggers that always threw me off. The triggers, because they were really mushy and then they clicked at the end. Kind of like the PS5 ones, but it was a lot mushier than those.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. They have a unique feel, but they again, there's method behind the madness when you start playing with it, you know. But I get it; it's different. It's weird.
Yeah.
I will say, like, on a lot of the PS5 games that I've played, I do love the haptic feedback in the triggers.
Yeah.
I love that. And on the topic of logos, like with the GameCube, the Guerrilla Games logo, reminds me of that a lot.
I can see that. I can see that.
They're
You got the
copying.
2 G's on the either side of the. But
Yeah. Okay.
but yeah, not as clever as probably the GameCube one, but it reminds me of it.
Are
The
you a fan of
GameCube's-
graphic design? Look at those logos.
It's indestructible too. It's indestructible system. I went through. I had my first Xbox died. My PS2. I still have the same PS2, and it still works, which is miraculous.
My first PS2 died.
Yeah, a lot of them did, but I actually looked it up. I have the model number, luckily, that tends to last the longest. Just complete luck.
Wow.
But anyway, moving on to another system here, the Xbox, which was the most powerful system of the gen, especially in terms of raw power, which I may or may not have said some choice words about back in the day. But I do like the Xbox now. I think my next project is going to be recapping that and putting that Project Stellar in, because that looks pretty cool. But so I remember going to the Topeka GameStop to get Panzer Dragoon Orta with Jack back in the day, and I didn't even know there was a Panzer Dragoon game coming out for the Xbox actually when it came out. But I never even played the Saturn one, but heard how great it was from people that had. But I love Panzer Dragoon Orta. I still play it. I have it on the Series X too, to play it all nice and 4K-ish. But yeah, I love Orta really just as much as I love Wander's Way. They're both pretty cool. But you know, flying around as a dragon, shooting lasers at things, just as nature intended. It's a lot of fun. Now, the biggest surprise of this multi-part episode next to Final Fantasy VII is coming up next. You're never going to guess the game that Jack's going to pick.
You won't believe what they picked for number one.
I see
on
the green
Xbox.
behind you as well.
Yeah, no, it's Halo. Halo Combat Evolved. You know, I talked earlier about 007 GoldenEye and how much that changed console gaming for me and like first-person shooters. Halo was that kind of on steroids. Not just 4-player multiplayer, but 16-player multiplayer with 4 Xboxes connected all at the same time. I mean, at the time, I just couldn't believe it. Break was there at the time. There were 3 summers in a row, I think, where when I was home from college in Wichita, it was me and 15 friends from work or school, and we had 8 people upstairs on 2 TVs, and we had 8 people downstairs on 2 TVs, and we had a small little Linksys router or switch that was connecting all 4 Xboxes together, and it was the loudest. My dad absolutely hated those summers because we would be so loud and there would be so many of us at the house until like 2-3 in the morning because we worked at the movie theater during the day or during the evening, so we'd get out at like 1 o'clock in the morning and it'd be like there like 1 to 4, and he'd be like, you just need to let me sleep as long as I can. And I'm just like, yeah, sure, no, it's fine, I'm gonna sleep till noon anyway. So but
And hating Halo and being your dad is unlucky.
Yeah. between the amazing single player campaign, the awesome gameplay loop, the vehicles, the extremely it seemed like it was a massive scope of conflict and just scale, and then the multiplayer was like nothing I'd ever seen before or played before, and it's another one of those desert island games. Just give me that and maybe one other person to play it with, and then I'll be okay for as long as you need me to be there.
Or 15 other people.
Yeah.
And then as you start starving, you can eat each other, and that also works.
It's a good game. No, it's a really good game. I can fully admit that. I have now for quite a while, but we did the LAN party thing with Jack, and then I remember even before I went to college, we hooked up some Xboxes together. I remember Richie getting so angry on Blood Gulch. Like white in the like his face was flushed and like this with one of the other people who was maybe playing a little cheaply. But I was like, it is good, but I can't say that yet. No, it's a good game. It's a good game. It's a very good game. And Maul also has one of my top Xbox games.
I think a classic. Yeah, I picked KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
You know, a few of us here might be Star Wars fans. You know,
What is that?
And yeah, no, it's pretty excellent. Like the storyline's great. I like the combat, which might be a little slow for some folks now, but you can turn up the speed a little bit on it. But it is D20 styled, so it's based on. It really is based directly on Dungeons and Dragons, 3rd edition of the time. At that era, they had licensed Wizards of the Coast, who did what Dungeons and Dragons, had gotten a license from Lucasfilm to do a Star Wars version of it. So it just basically just moved everything over into like a direct D20 system port. And so, you know, when your character is, you tell them to attack, and they're just like, you know, slowly sidestepping back and forth and occasionally whacking at somebody. And the numbers are crawling up on the screen underneath. That's the D20 system, the Dungeons and Dragons rules rolling by. But just great characters, great story. You got so much memorable stuff out of here. HK-47, Revan.
Yeah.
You know, there's just, yeah. I'm glad that, you know, like it was in canon at the time. It kind of fell out of it after, like, they sold stuff to Disney, but they've been referencing stuff from it again. So a lot of that stuff's going to get pulled back out and rediscovered. And they recently did some remasters of the game as well. So if you just have the modern systems, you know, do yourself a favor and, you know, go check those out and see what those have to offer for you as well. Because they really are still great stories and great games.
Which
Actually,
that's funny
nice,
because
like
that's what I did. Like, I didn't play Knights of the Old Republic on the original Xbox. I played a port of it, and I played it on the Xbox One S. And I got to a point in the game before, like, the big twist, and my screen just
Don't
went
say
black.
it, even though it's old.
Oh
Don't say it.
no.
My screen went black. I could hear everything, and apparently it was this game-breaking bug. There was no way to get past it. So I was just like, I was so mad. I just left. I didn't play it anymore on the Xbox. I literally just went and got the cell phone port. So I just played it on my phone with a controller. But yeah, I played through the first part of it twice. But I did complete it on my phone, but
Nice.
I really enjoyed the game. It was after I finished playing Jedi Fallen Order, and I was just itching for more Star Wars stuff, and I really wanted to. I'd heard good things about it. I wanted to try it out.
Nice.
I said good things.
Was that the game, you know, Maul Break, was that the game that really turned BioWare into BioWare? Because like they had
think
done
so.
Neverwinter Nights. They were
Yeah.
kind of on the way up, but like after KOTOR, they were BioWare, and they could kind of decide what they wanted
For
to
the
do.
mass audience, I think so. That was
Yeah,
when Penny Arcade was talking about them like daily there for a while. About how amazing, you know, that was the design was. And I think besides that, everyone was too. So,
Yeah.
which is great. I actually,
and actually,
Go ahead.
this when you mentioned Neverwinter Nights, also a contender for like my best of PC games list and everything as well. Love that one too. But yeah, you're probably correct though about this being like the one for them.
so KOTOR, I just have to say really quick, I have also a sad memory with KOTOR. My original Xbox that I bought when I was playing KOTOR, that's when it broke. And I was very upset because I was really into it and excited, and it broke. and like I tried cleaning the disc, I tried doing all sorts of stuff, and it wouldn't break, and then or it wouldn't go, and then I eventually got another one, and that one actually still works. But I was so mad. But anyway, I just started playing KOTOR again recently too. I got to the drunk where when they're all drunk and pass out in the room. That's where I'm at.
KOTOR is one that I've been wanting to try. I haven't yet, and I was originally going to try it when they announced the remake. I was just going to wait for that game to come out, but it's been silent for so long. Although they said it's still coming at some point.
I think it's kind of in development hell.
Yeah.
That's kind of when I went back to the original too. It still plays well. I mean, it's a little antiquated in some ways, but it does still play really well.
Yeah.
All right, friends. So we're gonna end here with the Game Boy Advance. This is gonna be our last topic of the night. It is gonna have to be another parter because we've been, and I like it. I like hearing.
It's so epic.
I love hearing everyone's
parter.
I love hearing everyone's perspective on all these systems and games. So I wouldn't shorten it for anything. So I like it. But next week we've got Voltar on, so we won't be doing it, and then we've got John Linneman after that from Digital Foundry. So it may be the week after that or something. It'll be a thrilling conclusion as we come into the modern era here. So be ready for it. But before that, let's go into the GBA, which again, as I mentioned the first time I met Jack, because he was playing GBA in public. The only other person I saw doing that besides myself. And I was like, he must be a cool person if he's playing GBA in public. But lots of really great GBA games, especially once the SP came out and you could actually see the screen without sitting on the sun. It became a really fabulous system, even with the sound issues that it has. Lots of great games here. I was thinking about FF, tactics and some different things. But ended up going with Metroid Zero Mission. I love Zero Mission. I almost gave Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. It was really hard to not do. I love Super Metroid. But Metroid Zero Mission is a great reimagining of the original Metroid game. With all sorts of wonderful enhancements and just making it a much better game. I would, if anyone was getting a GBA, I would have them start with that game. Like I love Metroid Zero Mission. And Jack's actually got the very first GBA game I ever played.
Yeah, so again, we're gonna go back to Castlevania. And the first it was a launch title over here in the States, and it's the first Metroidvania Castlevania game on the GBA. Circle of the Moon. It has new characters, it has some amazing music. It plays a little clunky nowadays. Like if you go back, there was the GBA collection that came out, or the handheld collection, I'm not sure what they called it exactly. It came out for modern consoles here just recently that included all three of them from the GBA. And it like I said, it plays a little clunky, but the music's great. The little card system they have is great because you could combine powers. Like you had two different types of cards. You could combine each one to give you different combinations of attacks or special effects. Bosses are great. It's Metroidvania. I really like it. And like I said, the two that came after it are great in their own right. Aria of Sorrow is really, really good and sets up Dawn of Sorrow on the DS. And the second one in between those is but the first one is probably my favorite, honestly, just for the music alone.
Awesome. Very, very good choice. I couldn't see it when I first got it because I got it on the regular GBA, but playing it on the SP was really, really cool.
Game changer.
What a pattern of those original handhelds. Couldn't see them. Idiot. But
You got a good pick here, though, Maul.
yeah, mine definitely Advance Wars. I definitely played the Game Boy Advance more like early on. It was probably the first the handhelds I bought, and bought like at launch. And same thing, couldn't see anything, but still enjoyed, what we had. And but the original games, there's a lot of good games, but also a lot of like shovelware on the Game Boy Advance. Just a lot of, poor copies, whatever. But Advance War was something unique. It was a great tactical game on its own. Sometimes frustrating in like the way the difficulty ramped at some of those missions, but Yeah, it was like a little intro Command and Conquer, almost, with the real time strategy, and a great battle system. Really great looking sprite work on both the full size like commanders you would recruit, as well as on all of the units, despite their tiny size on a tinier screen. You could clearly see what everything was, and build and plan your tactics around that. It was just really a really cool game, and another one that as the series progressed, it's still a good game series, but it kind of loses what it was originally. And to put though now where fans have made their own very close to copyright infringing knockoffs of it that have gone back to the original spirit of the game. I keep waiting for them to get busted, but
Nintendo wouldn't do that.
So.
Never go after IP.
Of course not.
So I did look it up. It is the Castlevania Advance Collection, Jack. Going back to a couple minutes ago. Advance Wars, great game, especially great for handheld. And Logan, gonna catch them all?
Yep, gotta catch them all. Pokemon Emerald is my favorite Game Boy Advance game. And I love Pokemon. I love, it's just a classic gameplay loop. It's really satisfying to see, to catch a creature and then, to raise it up. And it's really satisfying, to see it evolve and to kind of build this bond with it. You get really attached to your party in those games. But I'd say Emerald is probably my favorite of all of them, because it's kind of mastered the original Game Boy formula before they started evolving to the DS and all that, and it just has some of my favorite designs out of the entire series. Specifically, Rayquaza is my favorite Pokemon design they have ever made. I just love giant green dragon. And the other two legendaries, Kyogre and Groudon, also really good. The RGB color scheme, solid. So,
awesome. And I'm jealous of you for liking Pokemon. I've always wanted to like Pokemon, but just haven't been able to. We talked about this last week, but and Darria, I know you have extensive history with the GBA for reals.
Yes. I remember getting this as a gift for Christmas one year, and my sister and I constantly played and traded games, and the one that I'd probably would have to say is my favorite is Crash Bandicoot Entranced. But the one I probably played the most was Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, because it was you run into different encounters, and you collect you cast certain spells to learn about the creatures that you're fighting, and it's kind of going through a playthrough of the entire game multiple times to be able to collect all of those things. And so many car rides were spent playing those games. That and the Goblet of Fire were also some of the ones that I played a lot. But my sister and I both had a copy of Crash Bandicoot Entranced, and we occasionally we'd help each other get through levels. And I remember it's funny, I think I was over at my cousin's house, and he was my little cousin, and I let him play my Game Boy Advance, and he deleted one of my save files by accident. And so I still haven't gotten it back to where it was. I still haven't gotten it back to 100%. But I do like getting stuff too, exploring everything that I can, collecting all the things that I can. I like doing that with a lot of the games that I have. But those are probably the 3 that I played the most.
Nice.
And you showed me that it has some JRPG elements too, which was interesting.
Whoa.
I wasn't expecting it to play like a JRPG, but it does. Well, that's
awesome.
That's the end of the Game Boy Advance section. That's the end of part 2 of the epic everything that's the best series here. Before we head off into the sunset, Jack, what can you tell us?
I got some bad news. We're slowing down. We only made it through 11 years today. So.
To be fair, Darria was alive
That's true. That's true.
Oh, I'm not even alive yet.
Yeah, we don't. Logan's
So we're really
still.
close.
We're almost to Logan's lifetime. Oh my god.
This week, I don't have too many shout outs. Still playing through Dragon Age Veilguard. I think I'm getting pretty close to the end. But it's still awesome. It's really grabbed me from the story perspective. I'm looking forward to hopefully finishing it off this weekend. We'll see. Fingers crossed.
Awesome. And Maul, what do you got for us at the end of this week?
Oh man, nothing. Just
It's all right.
Yeah, I'm just living my life. I'm watching the Terrifier films again, and I'm enjoying that. So if you haven't seen them and you like blood and guts, it sounds like most of us do. Yeah, give them a go. They're a good time.
Blood and guts. Logan, what do you have for us before we head off into the sunset?
Yeah. Not a lot of new media related stuff for me this week because I've kind of been busy just grinding away on my short film. But that's been going well, and probably at least share a trailer in the Discord server whenever I have one ready.
Yeah, we could play it on the show.
Nice.
Too, if you want.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Darria.
I think I am getting close to the end of Assassin's Creed Odyssey before I before I go off into the DLCs. But by no means have I completed all the areas, but for the storyline I've gotten through it, and I am really, really enjoying that. So
Awesome.
Awesome.
That's probably Odyssey's really good. I'm looking forward to the new one, but Valhalla, we should talk after you finish Odyssey.
That's one of my favorite Jack Burton lines. We should talk after, yeah. Nice. Very cool. Well, I'm going to be continuing to work on my movie, eyesopenmovie.com. Check it out. And I can't wait to see you same time next week on the game show, and this time with the great Voltar. See you next week.